This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of Doc and Jock on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. We got a lot to talk about. Hopefully, when you guys are listening to this, the Tigers are still in the playoffs, but I'm getting a sense, and I think Adam and I are maybe in the same boat. After an epic collapse, many of you just don't really care about the Tigers, especially juxtaposed with the fact that it's college football season. The Lions are winning. You don't really believe in the Tigers. They celebrate collapses, which is just ultimately weird. So we'll talk about it. We'll give our little preview here. By the time this comes out, hopefully the series is 1-1. Maybe the Tigers would have already advanced, but we'll give our little preview regarding what we think is going to happen. We're recording right before game one. Hopefully it's another Scooble start where there's an opportunity where you get the Bulldog, not the guy that's flipping the ball through his leg. So hopefully it's a different Detroit Tigers squad. But we'll see. It feels like the confidence and the interest is really low. We're going to hit on the Pistons. They had their media day. Trajan Langdon. Hoping maybe we'll see the Pistons take another step forward this year, and then we'll finish off with the Detroit Lions, who are just really, really hitting their stride. First quarter of the season's already done. They're 3-1, and they had their fun with the Browns. Because I'm kind of in the same boat with a lot of fans. It feels like, you know what? When the Tigers made their moves at the deadline, it didn't really spark any confidence. It just kind of sent the signal to the team and everybody across baseball that, hey, we kind of hope that we're okay, but it resulted in one of the biggest collapses, the single biggest collapse of a division winner by the end of the season. They blew a 15-game lead, and they're not the division winners as we sit here. It's crazy to think about. It's crazy they didn't hit 90 wins with the team that they had, but when you go and have a deadline where you make the team worse, I feel like there's no buzz. I mean, I'm excited to see game one. It's Scooble, but everyone's like, you just settled to play the Guardians. You're going to get your ass spanked, is what people are believing. And so I'm okay with the fans thinking that let's just take a wait-and-see approach. If they win, good. If they don't, nobody expects. It kind of stinks what Scott Harris did to baseball. He made it so that nobody really cares. Are you in the same boat? It just feels to me that the Tigers have the least amount of buzz heading into a postseason, I think, in the history of our podcast.
I think it's fair to say that this moment in time, where they fall in the Detroit landscape, they're kind of an afterthought. And usually the Tigers getting into the playoffs, there's a lot of buzz. Everybody's excited. It's the one thing that everybody's talking about, no matter how good the Lions are doing. It's the one thing that's always getting worked into a conversation. Right now, it's just kind of like, all right, well, let's go see what they can do, because like you said, it was a historic collapse. Down the stretch, they won 3 of 16 games. Like, that's unreal. That's nuts. Like I said, it was a historic collapse of just epic proportions. And the fact that they were able to backdoor their way into the playoffs, you're right, has sucked any juice out of this series that they've got going on with the Guardians. And the worst part about it is, you're taking on the Guardians. This is a team that has wiped your face in it the entire second half of the season. This is a team that has basically bullied you and beat you up. This is a team that knocked you out of the playoffs last year, and now they're set to try to do it again. So I think you're absolutely right. There's zero buzz, zero juice. I blame a lot of this on Scott Harris. I think the moves made at the trade deadline, I think it really did impact the psyche and the mental fortitude of the guys in that locker room. Scott Harris essentially told these guys, I don't believe in you. What you've done to this point has been awesome. And that first half was pretty historic. And you look at the back half, you made history on both ends, right? Historic first half winning, and then historic back end losing. And I think it was at that trade deadline, which was kind of the crux of the season, Scott Harris essentially walked into that locker room, was like, I don't believe in you guys. I don't think we have enough to make a playoff run or get deep in the playoffs. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to go through the bushel bin. I'm going to grab some arms that might work, but probably won't. And we're going to throw this out there. And we're going to see what you guys can do. It's on you guys that are here right now. We're not adding anything because I don't think you're good enough. And I think that damaged that locker room. I think AJ Hinch did everything he could do to keep that pulled together. And so now they're here. Now they're facing the Guardians. We are about 45 minutes ish out from the start of that first game. And I guess the question that everybody wants to know is, do you believe this team can get hot? Do you believe this team can make a run? Because we both know baseball is a sport of streaks. It's a sport of averages. And I don't know if this team was as bad as they were down the stretch. That back half of the season, I don't know if they were that bad. I definitely know that they weren't as good as they were in the first half of the season, but I don't think they were as bad as they were at the back half of the season, especially those final, like I said, 16, 20 games. I don't think they were that bad, or they are that bad. So can they get hot? Is there anything that you see that they can do to possibly make a run? Do they maybe have enough in a 3-game series to beat the Guardians? You're rolling out Tarek Skubal. He's your ace. He's your guy. I think it's important for him to pitch well. I'm not sure what it is with the Guardians that make it so difficult for him to pitch, but if he can somehow get a victory here, I think it puts you in a better spot. But do the bats come alive? Because I think that's what the big issue has been, especially down this back half of the season. The bats have just gone ice cold. Do they hit the upswing and do they get hot? Do the Tigers make that run and make a push and possibly get into that second series, maybe get really, really hot and make a push for the World Series like we were talking about earlier this season?
Yeah, the key from what many people are saying is that the Guardians kind of run up Tariq Skubal's pitch count. Usually the average pitcher takes 12 to 15 pitches. Sometimes you get hot, you get under 10, and you can get into the 6th, 7th inning. The Guardians just foul off. They make contact. And the last couple starts, you had Skubal in the 35 to 40 pitch count range in the 2nd inning. That stinks for a guy that hasn't gone 7 innings. So what their strategy is, let's just work and work and work to get Skubal out of the game. And that's a smart strategy when you realize, the Cam Ward special, when the Tigers look at their bullpen, it's basically we ass. That's their motto. and everybody's like, oh, yeah, if you get to that bullpen, there's a chance you can win, have success. So the we-ass bullpen has to step it up because you tried to solidify with Finnegan, but after that, you got Will Vest and you got a bunch of guys that you're hoping will get the ball over the plate. So that's what sucks. And to your point, I think it's going to be very close. I think it goes to 3 games. I think, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, whenever the 3 games take place. I think that each team will win a game, and then there'll be a decisive third. But to me, it goes to show you that until you beat the man, you got to understand that they're the man. The Guardians beat you last year. They had your number this year. You only got Skubal in 1 start. Can anybody else step up? You're going to need a lot of people to step up. You're going to need Riley Green to step up, Javi Baez. You're going to need to hit with runners in scoring position. So there's a lot of ifs. And as we preview it, it's not fair to say, yeah, we expect it. The Tigers can get hot. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But I think that the fan base is taking a sit-on-their-hands approach to this team because they don't want to get hurt. They've already kind of dismissed them. And Detroit doesn't like it when you collapse and then celebrate. It's like, you could have celebrated on your own. There's no rule that says you can't drink and party, but you don't need to broadcast it like you did something. Detroiters don't like you having the lead in the division. You were number 1 in your division.
Bro, you led by 15 and a half games.
And then you ended number 2.
You end up losing to the Guardians.
Yeah, that's not something to celebrate publicly.
Dude, that felt so tone deaf and so out of touch. Like them airing, I don't necessarily care if they celebrate, right? That's fine. I feel like if you look at those guys, it looks like a gigantic weight was lifted off their shoulders. Like, hey, we know we collapsed down the stretch. There was a lot of pressure. It felt like it was almost a bit of a pressure release for those guys. So maybe that's part of the way that they can go on and make a run here is they're not dealing with all that pressure. It's whatever at this point. You know what I'm saying? They're playing with house money because they honestly probably shouldn't be here. But the fact that it was televised, the fact that there were pictures, the fact that there were videos, It came across as incredibly tone deaf. You don't deserve to celebrate. You don't deserve to do that. You don't need to air that, because Tiger fans have been living with you and watching this take place, and it's just completely gone off the rails down the stretch. And for you to go and celebrate, to me, just kind of, it's almost like thumbing your nose at the fans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. It's not recognizing that winning is important. Like, it's such unfortunate, such a marker that people wanted. You haven't won the division in a long time, and maybe it does underscore that they don't care about home field advantage. But you were able to win some games at Comerica Park in the playoffs last year. It's a good vibe. So we'll see if this team is mentally tough enough to go out on the road.
It is absolutely nuts going from being the number 1 seed in the playoffs, being the number 1 overall seed in Major League Baseball, to then being the team that just kind of ekes in. And the only reason that you get into the playoffs is because Houston can't get off the mat to win a baseball game. Like, that's how you got in. Houston played worse than you, and all they had to do was win one game, and they couldn't win that game, so you got to slip into the playoffs. It's nuts to be the very best team in baseball to then being the worst team in the playoffs. Absolutely crazy.
It is. What do you think? Bottom line, 3 games, you get Scuba for 1. It's on the road. I feel like you'll compete, but I just don't see I don't see the confidence. Maybe there'll be some competitiveness. I'm looking for 3 fun games, but there could be a chance the Tigers, bats relax a little bit and they get after it. But we'll see. The opening game pitcher for the Guardians got rocked last year, so he's kind of been a player that diminishes in the postseason. We'll see if he can step it up. But I think you get Scuba and then you might lose the next 2.
Yeah, look, I think there is a chance for this team to go on a run and win this series. Like I said before, I think they're playing with less pressure now, so they're playing maybe a little bit looser. Maybe that gets the bats going. It's going to be key for 2 things to happen. 1, Scooble has to win this first start, and then 2, the bats do have to heat up. I think if the bats can heat up, and if Scooble can win this first start, it puts them in the driver's seat to take this series. The question is, do the bats heat up? And again, like I said, baseball is a game of streaks. Baseball is a game of ebbing and flowing. And in the end, everything kind of averages out. And going into the playoffs, this team was absolutely abysmal. So there has to be a correction, right? I feel like there has to be a correction. I think you get a little bit of that correction. I think they win this first game. I think they make it interesting. I think they win that 3rd game. But Flaherty's going to be your pitcher for that 3rd game, and I don't like Jack Flaherty as a pitcher right now. I have 0 confidence in him, but I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that they win this series. I'm going to say that they get it done, but I think it's going to be ugly the way they do it.
Let's go.
What has to change for next season? Like, do they have to go out and get a bat? Do they have to go out and get some? They have to help bolster the starting rotation, because I feel like Scott Harris had a lot of things to take care of at the trade deadline. And instead, he punted on all of those things, and he did nothing to put this team in a better spot to make a run for the playoffs. And then I don't think he did anything to really set this team up for success for next season. It almost feels as though he's counting on all of these young guys to come up and make that impact next year.
I'm curious. Does Riley Green step it up? I'm curious, does Spencer Torkelson, Javi Baez, do the hitters finally step up and are able to make the key hit when needed? Do they have plate discipline? Does your bullpen step up? Do they play more loose, or do you have much more mental errors like you had down the stretch? Because not only was it a bad collapse, it was bad baseball. So let's just hope you play. Maybe being on the road gives them a little bit more of an opportunity to relax. The Guardians are okay, but they're not the best. They struggled late when they were able to take over the lead in the division. But it's just a letdown. You had a chance to win the division. Winning the division means maybe a bye or an opportunity to potentially have games in your own ballpark. So it's okay. We'll see. But like I said, I just feel like the Tigers just took a big, just really let everybody down with their play and really limped into the postseason. Now, you hope that the Pistons stock continues to rise. They had their media day. I think all eyes are going to be on Jaden Ivey after a catastrophic injury. I do think that finally we're going to get a chance to see if Cunningham and Ivey can play together. I'm curious, what's your take on the Pistons right now? Because as they enter their season, they're in training camp, they're going to start. It feels like, Trajan is got a lot more respect because of the fact that he got the team into the postseason. It's still early in his tenure, but this is kind of, to me, kind of reminiscent of the 2024 Tigers, where you have a good team. There's some expectations, but it's kind of tapered because many people know that it's Cade Cunningham's team, but who else is going to support him?
Yeah, it's kind of who's going to be that other guy, who's going to be that guy who kind of alleviates some of that pressure and takes a little bit of that load off of him. Look, I was really underwhelmed by what Trajan Langdon did in the offseason. I really felt like this team being on the verge of pushing that boundary and really helping solidify themselves in the NBA almost punted on doing anything of note, And you kind of look at what's going on in the East. Boston's going to take a step back because of injury. You're not really sure what's going to happen with Milwaukee because of Giannis. Do they maybe take a step back? Does he maybe force his way out at the trade deadline? There was a chance for this team to really bubble up and become one of the big three teams in the NBA, specifically in the Eastern Conference, and it really felt like they were content with just kind of staying where they were. And then you compound that with Trajan Langdon's comments at that press conference that you were talking about, where they're hoping to make the playoffs this year. Like, you just came off of a bit of a playoff run in a series that you probably should have won, and now you're talking about just hoping to make the playoffs. I was looking for something a little bit more concrete, something a little bit harder, where they're like, no, we're going to make the playoffs. We're going to make a run. We're going to be a dangerous team. Instead, you kind of got what every other general manager in this town gives you. It's almost like anybody's afraid to say anything of note or to make any type of declaration about their team being good. You look at Steve Yzerman, playoffs are important to you. We're looking towards the future. You look at Scott Harris and the Tigers that we just talked about. It's all about the future. It's all about the young kids. We're trying to be good for a long time. Trajan Langdon essentially said the same thing. Like, it's not playoffs or bust, which I really feel like it should be playoffs or bust coming off of the season that you had. And if you get Jaden Ivey back, he's supposed to be a guy who's supposed to help carry some of that load that Cade Cunningham has. And you then factor that into what he did in the offseason, and it really feels like he's squirreling away some cash for maybe this upcoming year instead of pushing in and trying to get this team to be competitive this season. To me, it really feels like the Tigers, the Red Wings, and the Pistons are all incredibly happy taking this backseat to the Detroit Lions, being very ho-hum, and just kind of being like, yep, if we get there, we get there. But if we don't, we don't. There's no pressure. There's no urgency. There's no nothing. And to me, it is incredibly frustrating. It is because of that mentality. Like, the Red Wings season, their preseason is almost over. We've not talked Red Wings at all. You know why? I've got zero interest in the Red Wings. I have zero interest in watching the Red Wings. I'm a hockey guy. Steve Yzerman, a guy who I absolutely loved when he was a player, has sucked the life out of me, and I don't care about your team. I don't care. Do something impactful. Trade Dylan Larkin because he's just a bag of dirty laundry. All right? The same thing with the Tigers. Scott Harris, do something. It's like that meme where you're poking something on the ground with a stick. Do something. Do something. At trade deadline, you did nothing. You set this team up to fail. And then you look at what Trajan Langdon did in the offseason. You look at those comments, and it's essentially the same thing. It's kind of like Control-C, Control-V. You just like, hey, not making anything too big here. If we make the playoffs, great. If we don't, okay. It's like, if you don't have any interest in your team and you're not going to do anything to make your team interesting, why do I have to have interest in your team? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm frustrated with those three franchises and their general managers because they continue to take this very safe approach and this very laissez-faire attitude towards making the playoffs, making noise, and being a dangerous team. And it frustrates the shit out of me.
What was your take on the whole Beasley situation? He's still out there. Do you take a chance on him with a wait and see approach, or is he just one of those bad dudes that you say move on from, and you went to other opportunities, Duncan Robinson? It's like, come on, Karis LeVert. it's the Michigan reunion. Are you okay with that? Or do you say, you know what? Listen, as long as someone can, hire him a financial planner and have someone pay his bills, then he can be okay and get back to Detroit.
If you can get him for the right cost, sure, I guess. To me, he kind of sounds and feels like he might be a bad dude. Also, with all of that going on, as far as his money troubles, does that creep into the locker room? Does that become an issue where maybe point shaving is a thing? There's been different guys in the media who have done really in-depth work and have highlighted him possibly. And again, it's a lot of speculation, a lot of hearsay, but possibly being on the take when it comes to altering points and altering prop bets. So I don't know if I do that. I don't think I want to risk my locker room to something like that. I know that he can make big buckets, especially in the regular season. In the playoffs, he seems to dry up. I need dudes who are a little bit more cutthroat in the playoffs, so I'm going to pass. I'm just going to pass on him.
Understood.
Would you go out? Would you spend the money on him? Would you bring him in?
Yeah, a lot of things have been alleged, but nothing is stuck other than some financial problems, but he clears them up. And it's crazy to think about that he blew an opportunity to have a 3-year, $40 million plus contract. All you had to do is keep clean for a couple more weeks, and you would have been inked. And unfortunately, because what sucks is that he's among the best three-point shooters in the league, and you need that. So they're going to take more of an approach of a team approach with other guys making it up. But that was part of your success. That got you better in that you were able to become a better shooting team. That opened things up. Hopefully Isaiah Stewart can stay healthy throughout the course of the year. When he went out against the Knicks, that basically ended the series, and it was super tough. So I'm curious to see how the Pistons I'm curious, basically, this is one of those years with the Pistons where it's about development. Everybody's got to take another step forward, and hopefully the additions that Trajan brought in can result in some fruitful games. I think this team can win more than 40 games. There's some expectations that you take another step forward. I think the expectation for me is going to be you have to win a round in the postseason. You have to take a step forward. That's the next step because unfortunately, and I know everybody.
But there's no urgency from the general manager.
The coach has to showcase also growth because he's not really known for being an X's and O's guy.
I don't know. There's no urgency from the manager, and it sounds like there's no urgency from the organization to make the playoffs. I get what you're saying, but to me, it's what you're expecting and what they'll probably deliver might not be the same thing. To me, it really feels like this team is comfortable resting a little bit on their laurels and resting on what they did last year, which in my mind is completely frustrating because you had the chance to get better, make yourself better. And look, I get what you're saying about Malik Beasley. I would pass. I think you've got to figure out other ways, right? I think the hope is Jaden Ivey comes back. Him and Cade can play well together. And it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and they're able to help carry this team. But I don't know, man. I'm frustrated by the general manager's comments. I'm frustrated by his moves in the offseason. It'll be interesting to see what this team does. I think they've got a very good head coach. Again, liken him to maybe like Dan Campbell, right? Being able to take some guys who maybe aren't the cream of the crop, but really putting that chip on their shoulder and getting a lot out of them. I think JB Bickerstaff does that very, very well. It's just, do you have enough pieces and can you create a big enough chip on the shoulders of these players to get that out of them so they can win a playoff series and just shoot at this point, do better than what Trajan Langdon is expecting and actually get into the playoffs. So it remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm just incredibly frustrated.
Lukewarm. Doc and Jock are lukewarm on the Tigers and pretty much just like meh with the Detroit Pistons. They got to show us some stuff. It's good. It's hype season though. It's the beginning of the year. I do want to see if Cade can take another step forward, get up into the upper echelon of the talent in the league. He's got a lot of respect, doing a lot of commercials. So he was on that special with Jimmy Fallon. So it's cool to see. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's kind of like what we like here in Detroit is the full range of complement of a team, which is draft well, 1, develop 2, but also look around the league and add talent that people respect. And when you bring in Duncan Robinson, and the last thing people remember is him getting benched because he can't play defense, that's not really great. It's kind of like, yeah, let's put a little Band-Aid on a gushing wound. It's like, nah, you still kind of see the blood there. You got to kind of get those stitches. And they're like, okay, we'll get the cheap thread one. But it's like, that's not going to close. Yeah, but, this is urgent care. This is not the 5-star Michigan hotel, the 5-star Michigan hospital here. It's just like, stitch you up and get out. And that's kind of the vibe that we're getting here, is that the sports teams are like urgent cares. Get in, take your money, and then boot you out. And then you realize, wait a minute, I got to go back to the doctor the next day. And then they go, who saw you? And then you're like, what do you mean who saw me? It was some intern guy. He's like, this is terrible. You got to get stitched up. You might need surgery. And you're like, oh, and there's a chance you have an infection too. And you're like, oh my God, this is not anywhere near what we expect here in Detroit. To the point of disappointment, it would appear that the beg, borrow, and steal twos are 1-3 in fantasy, coming off a devastating 171-146 fantasy football loss to the Lions podcast Slappies, who happen to be in one of the toughest ever established fantasy football divisions in the history of our league. I'm 4-0. And I just want everyone to know that Adam Straczynski has a subpar fantasy record coming on the heels of a championship, kind of like a hangover here, kind of like the Chiefs a little bit, where had a good year last year, had a good run, overachieved in the postseason, comes out. But Jesus, it was a good game. I was shocked when you got out to with 41 with Matthew Stafford. I was like, it's over. But then Dak started very slow. And I'm like, this is going to be bad. And then Dak got 41 in a 40-40 tie. Credit to Cook, Dobbins, Jefferson, Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, even though he's on a bad team. Just want you to know, cuz, keep trying. You and Aaron Glenn can keep working hard and trying to be more disciplined. But eventually it'll turn around. I see you potentially having a late run where your team could score 145. That's pretty good. But, when you come for the big dog, you got to remember that we bring out all our bag of tricks. You know what I mean?
Look, aren't you the guy that will sometimes make the playoffs, not regularly, sometimes make the playoffs, and then have an epic collapse and then find every excuse to offset why you lost in the playoffs?
Yeah, bro, I am.
Aren't you the guy? Wait, hold on. Aren't you the guy this season who had a 12-year-old draft your team for you?
Wrong.
I don't want to hear it from you. All right.
Incorrect.
I hung 145 points and I lost. Congrats to you for hanging almost 180. I don't know what deal with the devil you made where you scored 180 points. That is absolutely bonkers.
Okay.
Absolutely bananas, bro.
I'm not hiding it.
Congrats,
I have a wise man. Listen.
Legit. You have a fantastic team. You are me and you are in the same division. And our division is a bunch of heavyweights. Yes. And the fact that you are 4-0 in our division is unbelievable. So kudos to you, and you were doing a fantastic job with your fantasy team. And yes, you mollywopped me. I thought I held my own for a little bit. I was watching the Miami game, and A-Chain scored that touchdown, and I was like, all right, I feel like I should be in position to possibly win this. And it was like, nope, you're going to probably lose. And I was like, who the hell does he have going? And you had like 4 guys going on Monday night. And I was like, oh, well, that's probably why I'm going to put almost 150 piece on the board, and I'm going to get smoked. So I am also dealing with decimating injuries, as 2 of my first 5 picks are just done for the year. They're on IR. So I'm in a little bit of trouble here, but we'll figure it out. It's still early. Look, the thing about our league is it is very competitive because we have 14 teams in it. So there's you really need to do a good job drafting. That's number one. And you did a fantastic job. You and your Wiseman, the 12-year-old that you abducted and held hostage to draft your team. You guys did a fantastic job drafting. But all that being said, there's not a lot out there to pick from waivers. So when you have a couple of injuries, and I had it to a quarterback and a running back, so instantly that hurts everything. It's a bit of a struggle. And that's where I'm at. But I think last season I got into the playoffs with something like an 8-7 record or something like that. Right. So you can get into the playoffs with a sub 500 record, and you can make noise. It's just about getting hot at the right time. It's like the Tigers; you got to get hot at the right time.
Exactly.
And look, if I can do that, I will do that. I'm not out of it yet. There's still moves to be made. There's still guys to be had. So we're okay. I put 150 burger on you. Dude, and somehow I still lost. I don't get it.
Easy to see,
but kudos to you, man. You're 4-0 and you beat the shit out of me.
It was crazy, but it's fun times, man. It's fun to do. Basically, the best way to put it is I was more of an old school coach like Dan Campbell, Bill Parcells. I needed to get more into the analytical model of fantasy and looking at some deeper analytics. And so I deployed the use of some fantasy analytics that are really advanced analytics, smart people that know fantasy from a deeper perspective. And sometimes you got to do that to try and win. I was last year, it hurt because I was one move away. If I would have swapped in one tight end against your dad, I would have won. And then I would have dominated the rest of the two games and gotten the win because I scored more than anybody throughout the whole playoffs. And I was one transaction away, one move away. And we're getting there. And I do believe that in the next 5 years or so, I should have my name on that trophy because I'm up there. And I know what I'm doing in fantasy. I know the maneuverings. I've been up there quite a bit in the postseason on a regular basis. But yeah, I'm getting the reputation of being the Bills and the Steelers where show up in the playoffs. It's a good accomplishment. And then I get happy. And I forget that the work really starts in week 13. So it's a tough year because then, work-wise, by the time November, December hits, I'm on vacation mode. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's take a month off from the practice. Let's kind of coast to the NFL. And then it's like, oh, shoot, you got to put in a lot of effort in fantasy. And this year is my year. Let's see. But could it be the year for the Detroit Lions? Because 3-1, they whooped on the Browns. Everybody knew that the Browns couldn't keep up offensively. Joe Flacco is decrepit, and once it was going to be a race to 14 points, once the Lions took advantage of Cully Freeman and his special team skills, it was on like Donkey Kong, and that's good. Not only are they winning, putting up a lot of yards offensively and winning with a lot more of a different variety with defense, with punching the ball out, extra possessions, DJ Reed with the interception. You realize that, okay, this is a football team that is going to be good, and thankfully, for some reason, the football luck regarding their opponents has been on their side. You face a Browns team that isn't that great offensively, and they're one of the worst offensively coached teams in the history of the league. They can't score. The guys drop the ball. They only got 3 players on offense that anybody knows. And now you face a Bengals team that lost their quarterback. I was going to go to that game. I would have been like, yeah, can't miss, because I also deployed a strategy in another league where the fantasy analytic monster's laughing at me now, where he's like, your first 3 picks out of the first 50 picks are Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And Joe Burrow's down, and now Jamar Chase and T. Higgins can't score 10 points combined a week. It's bad, bro. In a league where everybody usually scores 100, I'm scoring like 40, 60. I'm 1-3, and the laughing stock of the league. And everybody knows that, Jesus, what you do for work, you podcast, you cover the Lions, and you can't draft a fantasy team that can get 70 points. I tried a bold strategy, but
that's why you had the 12-year-old draft your team, because when you draft, that's what you end up doing, which is silly season.
No, that's incorrect. Remember, the fantasy analytics only give the numbers, and they help 50%. They had to depart. I had to draft in the tough rounds, rounds 7 through 14. That's when an expert starts to draft good depth. Because my quarterback did get hurt. I had another one in there to maneuver. So I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to poo-poo. Just like people say, we don't poo-poo wins. But yeah, I tried something new because I was like, you know what? I want to just follow one team. And if the Bengals were healthy, I believe they could have been the greatest show on grass. But it didn't happen. Joe Burrow, turf toe. He's got to worry about getting his girlfriend back from France. She's stuck in the airport crying. We got to figure that out. And, it's unfortunate. So he's too busy taking photo shoots in his velour jackets and getting his hair styled. He's going to have more free time to do his thing, but it's not fair in regards to the fact that the entertainment value is down. I think this game with the Bengals is also going to be very similar to the Browns, 30-10, 17. Maybe Jamar Chase takes advantage of our injuries, but things are looking up for the Lions. How encouraging is the 3-1 start in your mind?
I think it's fantastic. And look, if you look at the way that this team has won, right? So the game against the Ravens, that was basically a defensive win game. Defense won that game for them. You look at the game against the Bears, that was offense. Offense won that game for them. You look at the game against the Browns, yeah, offensively they did quite a bit, but really and truly, special teams were the thing that really tilted everything in this team's favor. Special teams took over. Lee Raymond had quite a few big returns and then popped one off for a touchdown. And that was really the thing that was the straw that broke the back of the Browns in that game. That was a fantastic defense, and their offense held their own, right? We talked about how they're anemic on offense, and yes, the defense did a fantastic job. But it was the special teams that helped win that game and helped seal that victory against the Browns. And I think that right there, you've been able to win a multitude of different ways. This team is incredibly complete in the way that they are built, where they can win games on defense, they can win games on offense, and special teams can take a game over and help them win. And that's what happened in this game. And I told you last week, I don't think we've seen the best of this team yet. I don't feel like they have put all three phases together. I feel like what you're getting right now is you're getting this little mix match of maybe 2 of 3 phases winning games. Maybe it's one phase really taking over and dominating, and then the other 2 phases doing just enough. I don't think you've really seen a complete game from this team. And at the quarter pole, that's essentially where we're at right now. This team is 3-1. They are leading their division, and they look like they are a Super Bowl contender. At least that's what Stephen A says. So take that for what it's worth. I hate that guy, but take it for what it's worth. When national pundits are talking about your team that way, it speaks volumes about where this team is at. And this team, I feel like, is in the driver's seat this season. And I feel like they should be destined to make a lot of noise in the playoffs. And like I said, it's been incredibly impressive the way that they've been able to do things, right? It's not just one phase of this team getting victories. It's not just one phase of this team taking over, dominating. They are very much a complete team. And when they put it all together in a game, I think it's going to be outstanding to watch. And I think it's going to be fantastic to see. But all that being said, you've got a lot of injuries. You brought up DJ Reed. He's dead. Hamstring. Trajan Arnold, let's be honest. Let's call a spade. He sucks. Like, he sucks. To me, he looks like he is a wasted draft pick, and he's hurt. Got guys all banged up all over the place right now. And secondary specifically, I know you've got some decent pieces there, but it's not like you've got really anybody of note who's going to be able to fill in for a guy like DJ Reed. Amik Roberts would be a nice compliment, but he's not DJ Reed. I liked him maybe playing a little bit more than Trajan Arnold, because again, Arnold sucks. I was furious. I was furiously tweeting you during that game as I was sitting in the stands just screaming about Arnold. I'm done with him. I'm absolutely done with him. I know that we're only 4 games into the season, but I'm done with him. If he could have died on the field, I'd have been fine with it, because losing DJ Reed, I feel like, is a big blow to this team. He is the most complete cornerback that you have, and I don't think Khalil Dorsey filling in. I don't feel like any of the other depth pieces that they have in the secondary is going to really offset any of this. And then you look at the way this team is constructed up front. I heard a weird stat that, they are leading the league in sacks, and they are leading the league in getting pressures on quarterbacks, or at least they're up there. But it would have been really nice to have a second edge rusher of note who could really apply some pressure with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, he had a better game. I'm still demanding more. I still want to see more. But the guys up front make those guys in the secondary look that much better. And it would have been nice to have another guy up front if Brad Holmes could have done his job and added another one of those pieces to make the guys in the back look a little bit better. Some of those depth pieces like a Khalil Dorsey make him look like maybe he deserves to be on the field. How are the Lions going to survive having this banged up secondary? And are they able to manufacture and scheme pressures onto quarterbacks to kind of alleviate some of that spotlight that those cornerbacks are going to see?
Next man up, baby. The Lions know this, that they expect guys to go down, and it is crazy to think about the fact that the Detroit Lions are a team that could lose both starting cornerbacks and roll in Amik Robertson and you're probably going to have to, figure out a way with Avonte Maddox, Brian Branch to kind of patchwork it. You could go to an outsider for help in practice, but it's Amik Robertson and Brian Branch, or Amik Robertson and Rock Ya-Sin. You just got to patchwork it for 1 week. Terry Arnold is coming back, so you just got to basically deal with it for 1 week. DJ Reed might go on IR, but you basically don't got him. You get that free week in the bye, so it's good to have it early. He can rest it up, and you get this week, next week, and the Chiefs game might be a little tough for the Lions defense, but by and large, the 3-1 start helps. You get by the Bengals, that's 4-1. You get a chance to get them back by the Vikings game after the bye. So the bye week could be coming at the right time, but in the end, cuz you in a league where you see Malik Neighbors go down, you see Tyreek Hill's leg go backwards, this stuff just happens. And so now I'm kind of numb to it. It's like, all right, like when I was right there in the press box, I saw the play. He went down, tried to make the tackle. Cart comes out. I'm like, all right, another injury. It's been like the 19th guy on defense to go down in 2 years. So it's stuff happens. They compete. It's the toughest sport in the world. You see what happens, but it's not great. But you need these guys back and healthy by the time December hits, and you build yourself a little bit of a cushion with your schedule and the fact that you got some wins. So it's going to be okay. But I'm not happy with the secondary. That's the weakness of the team. It's not a strength. You're not as good, I think, with Terry Arnold and DJ Reed as you were with Carlton Davis. And now that hamstring is going to be, we all know, hamstring injuries are nagging. That could come up at the worst possible time. So I just feel like if the next step, and this is all being critical, guys like Jameson Williams, Terry Arnold have to step it up and have to take strides forward to help this team, because a lot of guys are. Aiden's good. El-Quadin Muhammad's coming out good. The offense is playing great. Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany got better after the miscommunications, but you need a couple other guys to kind of join the party. Jahmyr Gibbs is amazing. David Montgomery. But Jameson Williams had a real bad game, and Terry Arnold is a player that is just, they've been giving him this massive amount of responsibility, but then they said, we got to scale it back. And I think that the secondary is, it stinks because he's good against the run, but man-to-man coverage, teams are like, whoa, we're going to go at Terrion. And they found success. So I'm concerned about the secondary. But
let me ask you this. Is it Terrion Arnold, or is it more scheme and what the expectation is? Because when you go back to when he was drafted, that was a draft that had 2 cornerbacks taken before him. There was one quarterback taken before him, but there was multiple cornerbacks that were talked about, and there were 2 that were taken in that draft that have performed incredibly well over in Philadelphia. So is it maybe more scheme and what they're expecting him to do, or is it more just him? Maybe he does just suck, and maybe that's just what this is. Maybe it's him. Because Quinyon Mitchell has looked really, really good for Philly. Terrion Arnold not looking very good for Detroit. And then there was Cooper DeJean looking really good for Philly as well. So what is it? What is the deal? There were a ton of cornerbacks that came out in that draft, but like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean look really, really good right now. And Terrion Arnold looks like he's on
remember,
the struggle
the draft
bus.
order, the Eagles picked at 22. We moved up to 24. So you didn't have a chance there. You could have taken Cooper DeJean instead of Terrion Arnold. That might have been the spot maybe to do that, but that would have been a reach because Cooper went in the second round. But because I'm almost thinking that you don't even invest.
I don't even care about reach. If you get it right, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Just get it right.
I would kind of advise not taking a first rounder or a second rounder at that position. It just takes a while to develop. It's it's a combination of things. I think his confidence is not as good. I think the fact that he's played man-to-man in college, but at this level, these wide receivers are just faster off the line, and they have the ability with these route combinations to get schemed open. And you face the Ravens. It's good competition. You face the Bears and an expert that knows all your weaknesses. So it's just a competitive disadvantage. I do think he'll be okay, but right now it's a struggle and it's a problem because He's not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing at that position consistently enough, and they're not giving him any help. So you're like, we're going to sell out against the run, and Terrion, good luck. But here's the thing. Sometimes you cannot have a perfect team. And when you have a defense that's opportunistic and pressuring, if you marry the rush and the coverage, which means you get home with Aiden, who's now got on a sack streak, then it helps things out with Terrion. He's going to give up plays. He's not going to be Terrion Arnold Island. I don't see that. But if he can just make a couple more impactful plays like DJ Reed did, now you're talking. And I think the combination of scaling down his role right now and letting Amik play a little bit more and seeing what you get from others is okay to help him see the game a little bit better. But you're absolutely right. It's a tough position, but unfortunately it's daunting. And the Lions are like, yeah, you're thrown to the wolves. This is what you get paid to do. And they're giving the true definition of baptism by fire. So we'll see how it looks if he comes back and plays with the shoulder. But I don't think there's a trap game this week, right? Cuz you don't think literally Jamar Chase is on the sideline, like just sad with his coach. They barely look like they tried. And Denver, basically, Dan Campbell can send the Broncos a Christmas card and saying, thank you. You have given us the blueprint. And if Sean Payton knows it, then Dan Campbell knows it. I feel like the same kind of score is coming this week.
I feel like if this team looks past the Bengals, it could be a trap game, but I don't expect them to look past the Bengals. And I don't think the Bengals present a huge threat, right? Like defensively, the Bengals are not a good team. Trey Hendrickson is their best player on defense. And I really feel like he is surrounded by dudes with cement blocks on their feet. You look at that offense, Browning was a guy who was supposed to be able to come in and help steady that ship just for a little bit, help them possibly win games. He looks like he has regressed. There's been games that I've watched where he has played, and I'm like, yeah, that's a backup quarterback I would love to have. Right now, that is a guy who looks like he would get annihilated in college football. He looks so unsure of everything going on, and he's got a ton of weapons around him, and yet he can't do anything. And I just believe it is that offensive line. That is a horrible offensive line. It got Joe Burrow killed, and that offensive line might have gotten my fantasy football team killed because Joe Burrow is currently dead. So all that being said, I feel like the Detroit Lions defense should tee off on Browning and should have a spectacular day. This is one of those games where a guy like Aiden Hutchinson should really get his stats up. I just see a whole bunch of garbage tackles and garbage sacks just racking up his stat sheet, and a guy like Muhammad getting in the backfield and just having other guys, Derek Barnes getting in the backfield and just wrecking shop. This should be one of those games. I feel like Kirby Joseph should have another pass thrown to him so he can get another interception. I see Brian Branch just annihilating dudes. I think the defense is what carries the show this day. And I feel like the offense is going to put on a pretty spectacular show as well. Maybe Jameson Williams can catch a freaking pass. Heaven knows he was targeted a multitude of times, and the dude couldn't hold on to the goddamn ball because, I don't know, it was important to pay him millions of dollars for no good freaking reason when the guy can't catch a damn pass. But that's beside the point. Thank you, Brad Holmes. Thank you very much. Look, I think they roll. I think they take care of business. They beat the Bengals. I think the defense and I think the offense have masterclass days, and I think the Lions end up roaring to a win, 42-13.
Nice. Yeah, and then just before we get out of here, the fun part about texting Adam during the game, he's like, "I'm at the game, John, and this is pissing me off. What had you all hot?" With our last 2 minutes, I was like, "Bro, it's a three."
Oh no, it was a slow burn. It was a slow burn. It was a slow burn through the entire game. And it was this mixture of Jameson Williams not being able to catch freaking passes. It was having to watch Terrion Arnold completely just be a pylon out there. You could get an orange construction barrel off of 696 and 75 and set it up along either the right or left hash, and just that would do a better job than Terrion Arnold. That would be a much better example of a cornerback than Terrion Arnold gave you in that specific game, and the week before, and the week before that. And then it all falls on Brad Holmes. That really has to be pissed because you're not getting an ample enough pass rush, right? Like that's the one thing that can make the secondary look better. You are now down multiple cornerbacks, right? Ernest Rakestraw was supposed to play a part this season. He's dead. DJ Reed is dead for a multitude of weeks. Terrion Arnold sucks, and he might as well be dead. And if he was dead, I'd probably be happier. So now you're rolling out Meek Robertson, who I'm fine with. I think he's a very good player. All right, but next to him, it's essentially you on a Vespa. So good luck with that. And if you had a pass rush that could get home regularly and just, I don't know, felt threatening, because look, like I said, I feel like maybe Aiden Hutchinson's working his way back. Maybe he's not yet 100%. I've expected more from him this season, from the start of this season. And the game against the Browns was his best game so far this year. And I don't think it was necessarily anything to write home about. I think it was good, but it's not anything to write home about. I got to hear Brad Holmes tell me, oh, you hate Aiden Hutchinson. No, bro. I want somebody opposite Aiden Hutchinson so he can go do his job better. Or if he can't do his job real good because, I don't know, he's coming back from having his leg split in half, there's another guy who can go do that job as well. So I just feel like having a pass rush would have been nice, having a little bit more of a pass rush. Instead, he's like, nope, Muhammad is going to be the guy, and you'll like him, you'll love him. Will I? Because he went up against that same Browns offensive line that wasn't very good, and he was nowhere on the stat sheet. Like, what are we doing? So there's a lot of reasons for me being frustrated right now. Offensively, JMO plays football with freaking oven mitts on. Basically, he's got hamburger helper hands. And then you look at Terrion Arnold, and like I said, you can get an orange construction barrel off of the freeway, and that's going to do a better job than him in the field. And the whole time I got to listen to Brad Holmes be a smarmy dick about everything and tell me, like, I hate Aiden Hutchinson. Nope, I don't. I really don't. He's just not playing up to the same level that he was playing at before he got hurt. So I don't know, adding somebody who might help him, which then also helps the back end of your defense, so like when guys are dead, like DJ Reed, Ernest Rakestraw, and that bum Terrion Arnold, Meek Robertson can look good, and Khalil Dorsey can look like an actual NFL player. So, it was a multitude of things, John. It was a ton of shit. I was furious watching that game unfold. And they won. And they won by a lot. And like they did a good job. And everything was done well. But I was pissed because of the overall.
Yeah.
What that game ends up signifying, what that game ends up meaning, when you really start breaking things down to more minute details, there was just a lot there that I was unpacking in the stands, just being furious. And I'm next to two dudes who are absolute Detroit Lion geek necks and just like drink the Kool-Aid and just can't have like regular thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just all Honolulu blue right. Kool-Aid the whole time. I just wanted to pick them up and I just wanted to throw them over the banister.
The good thing for Adam is he was vindicated because in the coach's celebration that aired after the game, he's like, good game, good win, but we did not play to the standards that I like. And he said, that's a championship mindset, which is good. You curb stomp a team you're better than, but you're not supposed to make some of the mistakes you made. Goff had an interception. You had some clear issues with JMO. You had some things to clean up. So that's a good sign when you're a football team that knows you're good, but the coach wants more. And the players want more. And that's a great sign for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you follow Adam on X at AdamRSJROZ. Follow us at Detroit Podcast. We'll be watching all throughout the Lions game against the Bengals. Thank you guys for checking in on Detroit Lions on SI and checking in with the Detroit Sports Podcast as we cover the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, bringing you great audio content. And anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, just type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and our content will find you. Hit that subscribe button, share it, and thanks everybody for your continued support since 2013. Can't wait to break it all down next week. Do the Tigers have a team? Do they have an opponent? Let's find out. Tigers in the playoffs. You care?
You fucking podcasters. I said don't let them in here.